Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew Does Hair. You can find my work on Instagram at Andrew Does Hair. Today I found a couple spare hours that I wanted to use to sit down and record a YouTube video. I've been trying to do this weekly about whatever topic feels good that week. I just didn't have any ideas today. So what I did is I reached out to my Instagram following and I just made a post essentially asking people to ask me questions. Like, what do you want to see a video about? And I got a lot of good ones, but I don't think I got any that I necessarily felt able to make an entire video about. So what I want to do here is just Q&A. I'll probably wind up doing these whenever I can't get a model or just don't have any inspiration, because it's actually a lot of fun to interact with people in kind of a long form response in this way. I'm simply going to go through the comments on my post on Instagram, read the questions, and give answers here, starting from most recent. So the most recent question comes from Pedro Gui 111. He says, Tim Henson wolf cut. Here's the thing about that. I actually did do a video about Tim Henson's haircut, this one in particular. When I saw that photo, I had no idea who Tim Henson was, and I just thought, that's really cool hair. But I'd never done a haircut like that, and so the premise of the video that I had posted wasn't necessarily, here's how to do this haircut. It was, here's me figuring out how to do a haircut that I don't know how to do. So I walked through the haircut and referred back to the image and said, oh, I see the cut doing this here, and here's how I would achieve that. And by the end, for a first attempt ever at that haircut, I think I got pretty close. Granted, I was working on a mannequin head. It's not quite the same as human hair. The texture was different. I felt like I did a decent job. And I was very transparent and honest about, like, I've never done this haircut. I'm not claiming to be an expert on this haircut. But here's what I found about Tim Henson as time went on. He's a controversial figure. I got a lot of comments on that video, more than any other video I've posted, just mean, angry comments like, you're an idiot, you just ruined this mannequin, like this doesn't look anything like him. People were like offended that I got their boyfriend's hair wrong. I mean, to the degree like my like to dislike ratio on that video was worse than anything else I've ever posted. I think it got like 20 or 25,000 hits, and then I took it down because it just wasn't worth it to have these 17-year-olds who want to be with Tim Henson cussing me out because I did it wrong. And I'm like, this is freaking crazy. Like, I was just trying to do something kind of fun and make a video here being transparent about, here's me learning how to do a haircut. Here's the process of somebody taking apart a haircut they've never done and trying to recreate it. And I just got like mountains of hate on that video, so I took it down. And I rarely do that. Like, I rarely take down videos. But that one in particular, like, every time I got a notification saying you got to comment on this video, it's like, I don't want to look at it. Here's the other thing, going back to wolf cut. Anybody who uses the word wolf cut, whether it's a client making a request, which actually rarely happens, or more so it's somebody online claiming this isn't Tim's haircut, he has a wolf cut. That's a comment that I got a lot. It's just a basic wolf cut, you did it wrong. Everybody using the word wolf cut, I believe, has never Googled it. Because when you Google wolf cut, no two pictures look the same. Wolf cut's not a real thing. Watch, I'll Google wolf cut right now. And what comes up, everything from like a shag looking pixie with a little bit of a mullet to a longer shag to 90s layers to a hobbit haircut. I mean, there is like, what is consistent among all these photos that makes you go, oh yeah, that one's the wolf cut. You Google wolf cut and you get so many different haircuts that it's, dude, for the longest time, people would go, oh, I want blah, blah, blah with an undercut, but I don't want it disconnected. And I'm like, bro, undercut means disconnected. Like, there's these haircut buzzwords that pop up and make their rounds on the internet and give everybody this, like, oh, I got the secret weapon. I know the real term. It's a wolf cut. And it's like, bro, that doesn't mean anything. Just show me a picture and I can reverse engineer it and try to make it happen. I think in the case of that Tim Henson video, I think I did a pretty good job. But according to his White Knight Warriors keyboard guys, I butchered the haircut and it was nothing close. So I've done that video and I'm not going to put it back up. I might reattempt it someday, but knowing now that people are insane about that guy, he's almost like a political figure, the way people were reacting to him. Like, it was insane. The second comment I'm getting is from Alex Kaba 89. How to maintain and style men's soft, fine, and wavy hair. That's a tough one because I think oftentimes we have these very specific requests like that for hair people on the internet, and we want a prescriptive answer. Like if I could give 2 sentences back that just like, oh, that's it. When I've tried to answer similar types of questions in that it's not a simple prescriptive like if A then B, I've been accused of like, oh, this video is bloated and pointless. I did a video about head shapes, and that's another similar thing. It's not like, well, if you have a diamond shape, do this haircut. They invented that whole process to sell haircuts to make you think like, oh, I have this inside the solutions. I look at your head shape and I custom tailor because of your head. Like, no, dude, it doesn't work that way. And so I made a long video explaining kind of the more philosophical, larger picture answer to the head shape thing. And I got a bunch of comments saying like, hey, this is bloated and long-winded and pointless and unintuitive. I'm not offended by that because yes, that's how that answer is. And so in this regard, how to maintain and style soft, wavy men's hair, it's the same thing. It's not like, oh, buy this product, ask for this haircut, all your problems are solved. There's not a simple prescription for it. What I would say is on a case-by-case basis, I would check out what the hair is doing for that individual person's head. And I have a video about this, 10 steps to finding your suitable haircut. If you watch that video, I would go through that process, find out what the hair wants to do, look at the head shape. I would have to feel the head in my hands to kind of give a proper answer to that. And it's a whole big process. Using the sort of data that I can retrieve from those 10 sort of tests on the hair, we could come up with some solutions if we were sitting there in person. As far as like what then would be done with it, the process is not unlike any other haircut. Whether you have coarse straight hair or fine wavy hair, it's like we're looking for specific geometry on the head. We're looking for how we can emphasize that and how we can get that exact head of hair to emphasize it. And so, you know, on some people it's like cut it this long and that's the answer. On some people it's cut it this long and that's the answer. On some people it's like we need a 45-degree cut. On some people we need steeper than that or less than that. It all depends on what you want the hair to do. If I were to try to give a very prescriptive answer and just try to make it simple, like think the kind of like mod shag mop top thing works really well for that kind of hair. I have a couple clients who have really fine wavy hair and we wear it in this kind of like shaggy mop top thing because it looks a lot fuller that way. If I were to try to give a really simple, just prescriptive answer, I don't know how helpful that actually is, but I would lean in that direction, having no other information about the head in question. Next question. Oh, How to Cut Your Own Hair by Lucas Max Muller. I can't do a video on that because the handful of times that I have tried to cut my own hair, it has not turned out well. I don't know how to do it. I know that some people are like masters at cutting their own hair. What I know from my handful of times trying to cut my own hair is I don't trust my eyes in the mirror. I trust the feeling of my hand. And so the only way I ever been able to cut my hair to where it turned out decently is when I slap on a number 2 guard and drive it up the side of the head. But even then, I'm feeling with the clipper for the widest part, and then I'm like feeling where I'm moving the clipper more so than looking in the mirror. If I catch myself focusing too much on trying to see what I'm doing in the mirror, it turns out bad and I cut myself. But if I feel it, or almost even like defocus my eyes to the mirror or look away from the mirror, I end up getting a better result. That said, I've been cutting hair for 20 years and I have muscle memory to know where to put the clipper. And so I don't have much to give an answer there. Like I know some people have figured out the secrets to cutting your own hair beautifully. I just don't have those secrets. I only have a very small little bit of experience trying to do it. And that's what I've learned is that what I feel is more important and more helpful than what I see. Okay, next question comes from T Nappy. Haircut suggestion for a client who is growing out their hair. For example, and in between cut for someone who has their hair styled forward and eventually wants to wear it back. So I actually have an entire video about this, you know, how to grow your hair out without the awkward phase. In that video, I just kind of point out what sort of shapes different haircuts are made out of and how one haircut can grow into the next haircut. The idea is I'll refer back to my 10 steps to finding a suitable hairstyle. Every time a client comes back and sits in my chair during the process of growing out their hair, I go through those 10 steps again because when your hair's this long, it might act one way. And then when it's this long, it acts a completely different way. I would find out on each visit, what does your hair want to do today? And the idea is if you give the hair a plan from this haircut until I see you in 2 months for the next haircut, if we have a plan and I can have an educated guess from testing and playing with the hair as far as what the hair will want to do, I can advise you as far as how to style it until that next visit. And with pretty decent accuracy, I'm able to tell them this is what's going to happen in 2 months from now. That will be your signal that it's time to get a haircut. Maybe like this part will start flipping out and it'll drive you crazy or whatever the situation might be. Like if somebody's in the stage where the hair is kind of going up in the front, or so like in the case of this comment, they were wearing it forward and then they want to go to wearing it back. So if you're wearing it forward, eventually you'll start to feel like you have like bangs. And so it's like, okay, we'll style it up a little bit. And then once it feels too long to style up, like it's just like Jimmy Neutron ramp in the front, your hair's no longer doing what we planned for it to do. And so now you're in an awkward phase. And that's when it's time to sit down and have somebody comb through it and wet it down and figure out what it wants to do next. Will it lay back yet? Or are we gonna have to kind of go forward and over for a few months before it lays back? And so it's a case-by-case thing that comes down to testing the hair, feeling the head, and just seeing what the hair is willing to do. There's a lot of cases where I'll tell the client, yeah, you can slick your hair back if you want to spend 10 minutes in the mirror every day with a hairdryer. If you want to slick it back quick and easy, come back in 6 months and then it'll slick back quick and easy. Next question, Rahul Mala. That's a fun one to say. Rahul Mala. How to build volume. It's a pretty simple one. Your hair works like a fabric. If I had a wrinkly shirt and I handed you a hairdryer and I said, hey, take the wrinkles out of this shirt, I'm sure you can imagine just instinctively that if you took the shirt, you pulled it tight, you put heat to it, then the wrinkles would come out, right? We kind of understand that about fabric. But if you look at your hair the exact same way, it actually works identically. If you put heat to your hair, you're able to re-sculpt it, and then wherever it cools, it stays. Just like you take a hot t-shirt out of the dryer, if you're not careful with it, it's gonna cool with wrinkles. And so your hair is the same way. If you heat the root, and then once it's like cooking, you hold it up, and then you can hit it with cold air from the dryer, or just hold it up long enough that it cools on its own. If it cools standing, it's going to want to stay standing. Within limitations, there are ways that the hair can be cut to make this easier or harder. And so the haircut, I'd say, is like 50% of the results. The blow dry is like 40% of the results. And then product is like 10% of the way there. A really easy hack for volume is those texture powders. Like if you don't know what you're doing and you just want big hair, like put the texture powder in there, you're gonna have big hair. That's essentially how I break it down. It's like, first start with a good haircut. Like if we take all your hairs, we cut them to the same length, they all bend and move the same way. And so if they're long and they want to fall down, what we could do is cut some of them shorter. So this is texturizing the hair. And those shorter hairs, being more rigid because they are shorter, will want to stand up more. And so what they do is they stand and they push up the other hairs with them. So this is what, we think of texturizing hair as just like thinning it out, but no, it's creating an internal structure inside the haircut that will promote movement or volume or whatever we need to do. Like in some cases, if somebody's cowlick or whorl is like a little bit off to one side and it's causing the back of the head to like lay uneven, sometimes I'll go in and I'll take shorter hairs on the opposite side so that that side sticks out as well, so we get balance in that case. And so yeah, I would start with a good haircut, and then the blow dry is like absolute necessity if you want volume. And again, think of it like a fabric. Heat it up, put it where you want it, cool it off. I have a video about men's hair brushes that isn't necessarily about how to get the volume in there, but just watching the description of how the brushes are used kind of, I think, paints a pretty good picture about how this process might work. I also have 24, maybe even 36 videos of me just going through an entire haircut and styling process posted within the last year on my channel. And in some of those videos, I'm going to great lengths to get some volume, and some of those videos I'm reducing volume. But if you watch a handful of those, you'll see that it's almost the exact same process from head to head to head, but with just slight minor tweaks as far as how we're sculpting the hair to style it. And so if you watch like 3 or 4 of those videos, it should click like, okay, that is actually how hairstyle is styled. I get it. Next question is from C. Carl Cut. Want to hear more about your experience moving and establishing a new clientele? Did you find it easier with an Instagram following, like people already knew of you? Or did you try to direct traffic to your page? Or was that not a factor at all and you were just yourself and people loved you for that? I realize it's a mixture of the two, but would love to hear your take. I don't know, almost 6 months ago, I moved from California to Tennessee. Now in California, I am booked solid. I'm booked through the end of the year. And it's great. Whenever I go back home, I'm like crazy busy and it's the best feeling. In Tennessee, I'm sitting around and making YouTube videos because I'm doing a couple haircuts a week right now. What I've been leaning on to try to get more clients is YouTube. What I found in the last probably 2 years, even working at my other salon, is I was getting more new clients who found me on YouTube than I was getting who found me on Instagram. So for years now, I've only really looked at my Instagram as a portfolio so that I could kind of set up client expectations before they get in the chair. If you look at my Instagram, you know the kind of hair I do, you know the sort of styles that I do, the kind of aesthetic of my work, and it's a lot easier for me to work with a first-time client if they've seen my portfolio than if they come in with no expectations at all. I just find that the whole process is a little bit easier if they already have that kind of homework, having looked at my Instagram. But I do not find that posting on Instagram is getting new people to come in the chair. In fact, whenever I have a first-time client, which is a lot here, I go on Instagram and I try to find them. I look at their name on the appointment book and I'm like, let me see their Instagram. Because just like I hope that a new client would do homework on the work that I do, I try to do homework on a new client. I want to see their vibe, their aesthetic before they come in, so I can have a heads up as far as like what they're about, you know? But more often than not, my new clients aren't even on Instagram. They're finding me through YouTube, both through videos like this one, some of my haircutting videos, and even some of my camera videos, but also the collaborations that I've done with like On Point Fresh and other channels like that. Really, I'm leaning on my YouTube following to get new clients. And what I like about it is in these long form sort of sessions like this, it shows more of my personality. You can hear me get frustrated about certain topics, and you can hear me light up and just go crazy about other topics. And I tend to ramble and be more human here. Where on Instagram, I'm like, here's a picture of a haircut. And then you have to burn mental calories to sort of figure out for yourself if it's a good fit. To where I think most people don't stick with a hairdresser long term just because of the haircut, but because of the personality, because of the vibe, because like, hey, you like the same bands I like, hey, you dress like I dress. When you have more things in common like that, you tend to build a better relationship with a client. It's easier to figure out what they want and give them what they want, to where if somebody comes in and we have nothing in common, it's like, doesn't matter how technically good I could do the haircut, it oftentimes doesn't turn into more of a long-term kind of relationship. And so it's for those reasons that I've been leaning on YouTube more to get new clients, and Instagram less, because on Instagram it's a lookbook. It's my highlight reel, really. It's like, oh, here's a picture that was strategically posed on a haircut that I've cut on this person 10 times already. And so yeah, I just feel like YouTube's more real, more down to earth, and more effective at getting people to go, you know what, I think I agree with some of this guy's thoughts here. Maybe I'll get a haircut with them. And so actually, I've been telling a lot of hairstylists and barbers lately, when they go, hey, how do I get new clients through Instagram? I'm like, don't. Start a YouTube channel. They go, well, I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber. I never even asked people to smash the like button, but I just like getting on here to hopefully potentially connect with new people. And I think that every barber and every hairstylist just getting on YouTube and sharing their thoughts and their opinions about hair, maybe their processes, you put that out there in the world and people are going to find you. And I feel, and I've experienced that the average person tends to resonate more with YouTube type content as far as wanting to get in your chair. Although, you know, maybe I should do more reels. Maybe that would work. I feel like I was too late to the reels game. The trend came and it went. I mean, I also don't care so much about trends. I just like to do what I like to do. And I have a lot of fun sitting here doing these long form videos like this. Next comment. This is from Sienna the Barber. I'd love to hear your thoughts about trimming long beards, less about technical things and more about why and how you choose what you do. I'm really not the guy to answer anything about long beards because I don't actually do them. Like, I've trimmed a handful of long beards, but it's been in cases where it's like a very good friend of mine who is like, dude, I don't even care if you messed it up. I just need like something. I never went to barber school. I'm a cosmetologist. I never took a beard trimming class. By the time beards became very popular, I was already super busy just doing haircuts. And I did the math like, okay, if I go to barber school, it's going to cost me this much to get a crossover license. And then I'll be able to charge this much for a beard. And basically it would have been like 3 years before I broke even and did enough beards to pay for barber school. But also, every time I booked time to do a beard, I would have been making less money than booking that time doing a haircut. And so I just never learned beards. I don't really have anybody in Nashville yet, but in Tustin, I know a handful of great beard people. I just refer it out. Like if somebody comes in and they ask me to shape up their beard, the extent of what I'm comfortable doing is these lines on the cheek. And sometimes if I know them well enough, I'll do the line on the throat. But that's it. Like I do a line here, I do a line here, and I don't touch beards otherwise. I guess, yeah, I'll fade in the cheeks too. As far as like sculpting the chin shape and that sort of thing, or doing actual long beards, I just don't do it because I don't know it very well. Some schools would say, oh, just fake it till you make it. And like if somebody wants you to do their beard, they're the customer and the customer's always right. Like, no. I only like to do what I believe I'm the best person in the room to be doing. Even here at my new salon where I'm starving for new clients, if I don't think I'm the best person here to do what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to send you to the best person. And so that's kind of my take on long beards. It's like, I don't do it. Go ask Matty Conrad. I think he has a whole bunch of videos on YouTube about how he does beards. He's an absolute master. Next question. Jake KT. Cutting a mannequin seems fun. Maybe some techniques for cutting longer hair. I haven't made a video specifically about like how to cut longer hair because again, it goes back to that sort of prescriptive dilemma that YouTube has. Is like, there are so many ways to cut longer hair. There's so many different kinds of longer hairstyles. If I was to make a video about like, here's how to cut longer hair, essentially the only way that I could encompass like something that would even touch like the whole premise of what longer hair can be and should be, and is if I just did a fundamentals of haircutting video. I do have a couple videos that touch enough on the topic that I think if you watch them together, you might have a better grasp. And so I recently did a video titled something along the lines of "The simplest thing could be wrong with your haircut." That was aimed kind of as like a clickbait title, but essentially in that video I break down different elevations and how holding the hair here differs from holding the hair here, differs from holding the hair here. And so it's a brief watch. The fundamentals of longer hair are very clearly displayed in that video. So if you watch that, and then I do have, like I said, 2, maybe 3 dozen like individual haircut videos where I go through the haircut process, the styling process, and in most cases a photo shoot as well, where I was doing it on a client by client basis rather than picking specific subjects and hitting that specific subject, more like here's how to do a longer haircut. But in some of those videos, like I did one for like a John Wick style haircut. I've done some for like scene hair. And if you go watch through those videos, you can find a handful where I was cutting longer hair. You'll see a handful of different techniques in each of those videos. And so again, I think it's something that if you sat and watched 3 or 4 of those videos, like hopefully a light bulb will turn on and you'll see what is uniform across the videos, and you'll see what is different from this look to that look, when it's appropriate to leave this strong corner or take off that corner. So watch a handful of those and then watch that, like the simplest thing could be wrong with your haircut video. I think that could be a good starting point. Who knows, maybe I will do like a fundamentals of longer hair video at some point, but again, it's just, that's such a big, deep topic, but that by the time you make it thorough, it's essentially, it's just another foundations of haircutting video at that point. And the last one, MT Radford, whatever you want to record is cool with me. I always enjoy all your content. Thank you, MT Radford, much appreciated. Anyways, thanks for sitting with me. This was fun. Gave me something to do while I wait for my first client. Maybe we'll do more of these in the future. Thanks for watching.